I've been involved in a range of different types of projects throughout the summer school. So some have involved making an initial prototype of an idea, running an initial experiment in a space. For example, we ran a project with chemistry a few years back where we made a prototype of a game that helps students learn organic chemistry. And that actually was initially supposed to be a project that kind of explored an initial space, but ended up being something that was rolled out in chemistry and got published in the end, which is nice. Other projects have actually contributed a small piece to a much larger project. So my favourite example of this perhaps is a student or two students from our film course who came and worked on writing and filming and planning a film, an interactive film that was actually a core part of a major deliverable for an EPSLC project. And that was also something that went on to be published as well, which is nice. Other projects have been less focused on making things like prototypes, but have been more around exploring new spaces. For example, one project we had a few years back was a systematic review of papers and previous production work on human AI co-creativity. And another project that we had in the first ever year of the summer school was an interview study with a range of interactive filmmakers for existing ones by doing things like making prototypes and working with students to do components of research projects that maybe haven't been supported by funding and so on. So I think this is a particularly valuable aspect of the summer school, at least from a staff perspective, because we're in a funding environment where people increasingly want anticipatory work and initial results to be shown in funding grants. And I found that summer school projects can be a really nice way to get something going, get something started, get something working in advance of having that kind of thing, especially when it's so difficult to get funding to do that kind of initial work. I think what makes a good summer school project primarily is a project that's thought about from a student's perspective and something that is enjoyable and fun for students to do over their summer holidays for 12 weeks. In my experience, I found that something that involves or asking students to make a defined creative thing by the end of the project can really work towards this goal. So something like a prototype of an interactive technology, a game, a film, something that the students are kind of tangibly producing and can have at the end and show off seems to be the thing that really makes the most enjoyable and fun and successful projects for the students. I would say this doesn't necessarily rule out projects that don't, for example, make technology or prototypes. I think there's definitely ways that projects can be made to have creative outputs, even if they are, for example, things like literature reviews. I mean, the best example of this is a project that Sebastian Desting and I did a few years back, which was a literature review of human AI co-creativity. And for that project, as well as asking students to do the systematic review, we also asked them to make a website summarizing their findings. And so the students in that way did the work that we wanted them to do in a really rigorous and professional way, but equally had a really nice creative output at the end that they could show on their CVs and be really proud of. Another thing to note is that a good summer school project shouldn't be overly ambitious. And in the past, I've perhaps asked students to do tasks that are too ambitious for a 12-week internship, but equally, don't make projects too small, because you will probably be, when you get involved, really astounded with how much high quality work the students can do over such a short period of time in the summer school.